What's going on? MLKen here, back with another MLKen video, and today we're taking on the Ancient Inheritance, the new guild battle mode, where we'll be able to go in with our guildies and complete a set of challenges within this dungeon, and then potentially get some awesome rewards. So here we go. We did complete day one, and we're going to talk about some potential tips, some observations, and my thoughts on this new gameplay mode in Epic 7. So here we go. So starting off with Ancient Inheritance, the starting artifact. Now this one might be a difficult choice. I did choose the provision one, the one that gives you 3 provisions, and that one just gives you 3 more tiles that you can step on, right? And so it's going to let you explore just a little bit further. The others give you 50% EXP, right? And so it really depends on what you want to do. Do you want to explore just a little bit more, or do you want to make your unit stronger? Do you want to make your classes stronger? I think in retrospect, I should have taken the EXP one. I think the EXP one might allow us to reach a higher class enhancement faster, which again are going to make our units stronger and also help us unlock a bigger unit enlistment pool. So when you start off, you only get 10, and every level that you go up, I think after level 2 or 3, you get an additional 2 more units that you can bring in, that you can use to fight those small expo bosses or those small mobs. Now, one thing that I will note is that it can be a little difficult if you don't have a large amount of unit pool. So when you are starting off, if you are lacking units, or you don't have a large roster of units, then you might want to just focus on exploration and unlocking those chests. And then you can focus on attacking with your units, with those smaller little expedition bosses that you have. It is going to take most of the guild to take them out, but if you do have fairly strong players, they might be able to get them down to at least like 50% HP, somewhere along those lines. But if you are newer and you are struggling to bring in a large amount of units, I would highly recommend picking up some rewards, exploring, and avoiding the smaller fights like the level 1s and the level 2s. You can potentially, if you are also struggling with having a large roster, is you can potentially 2 to 3 man those level 1 and level 2 small mobs. And so if you are bringing in units, 2 to 3 manning, even potentially soloing with just 1 unit, I think is definitely possible. We were able to like 2 to 3 man, I think like the level 2s, which wasn't too bad. So I think the level 1s you can definitely solo. Your substats here don't really matter on your gear. However, the gear set does. And so that's one of the biggest tips that I have for this game mode. Regardless of the amount of units that you have, I highly recommend that you check them and make sure that the gear set is equipped to whatever unit you plan on using. So for example, if you plan on bringing in specific units, I would highly think about or consider bruisers. So bruisers, tanks, and healers are, for me, what allowed me to survive the best. Any unit that has any kind of built-in sustain, like for example, Ravi, Apocalypse, Ravi, Mort, BBK, Violet, I think Riolet. So any unit that you usually build with lifesteal, I think is going to be very, very good in this game mode. So gear set does matter. Speed set bonus, you do get that, as well as the counter bonus and lifesteal bonus if you're using those sets, right? So if you slap on lifesteal gear onto your Violet, that will still work in the Ancient Inheritance labyrinth. So from my gameplay, lifesteal was, I think, one of the best sets to have because you have that self-sustain. You have that built-in self-sustain. If you are planning on 2 to 3 manning, cleansing is also going to be a big one here because there are some debuffs like poison and burns, they're going to chip away at your health. So I highly recommend that if you do plan on bringing in specific units, just make sure that they have a gear set equipped. Even if you don't have lifesteal, just slap on a full speed set or crit set, all of that good stuff. So that way you can still get the bonuses. Now moving on to the roster. So the amount of units that you get to start off with is about 10 slots. So you get 10 slots to bring in 10 units initially. Just keep in mind that your characters can only fight in one battle and then they can't be used at all. So you get one and done. The monsters, again, can be potentially 2 to 3 manned, maybe even soloed with 1 unit, which allows you to save other units or a core of units for the main little mini expedition boss, we'll call them. Now you can recall up to 8 units, and that allows you to sub in any units that you have already used for units that you haven't used from your roster. So if you don't have a large amount of units that you can bring in, then potentially avoiding smaller fights and focusing on the main expo boss and exploring, picking up those rewards will also help you. So moving on to some general tips. Again, you don't have to fight every monster. You do get EXP from fighting, but you also get EXP from moving around and opening up chests, resting as well. There is like a little tent that you get provisions from, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And you can definitely earn currency for playing, and then you can trade in whatever currency you get for those rewards, which is going to be like Molagora, whatever's in the exchange shop, right? That gear set that you get. And then you can also earn class upgrades by exploring, and then you can use those to increase the health, damage, speed, crit. You get a lot of substat bonuses for the class that you choose. And so this is why I recommend potentially starting off with bruiser units, warriors, knights, units that are usually tanky are going to help you survive a little bit longer. And if you do need to 2 to 3 man certain fights, you can definitely do that without worrying that they're going to go down. Moving on to a few movement tips. So you do have limited movement because you start off with these provisions. And so that's the resource that you need in order to move around or to complete any kind of action. And so you do get rewarded pretty well for exploring. So you get EXP, and we talked about how that EXP allows you to earn those class upgrades, which in turn makes your units stronger, right? So if you're moving around a lot, you're going to be getting EXP. If you're fighting, you also earn EXP. You start with 80 provisions. It does cost 5 provisions to battle level 2 monsters, but if you are moving around, it does cost 1 provision per tile to move. So you can kind of plan out exactly, how many spots you can move or how many tiles you can move, and then how much you'll have left over. If you do make it to the rest area, that has a 0 cost, and it gives you 3 provisions. So if you end up making it to the rest area, you get 3 additional steps that you can take in another direction, and you also get some EXP, which adds to your exploration level. So that's going to be it. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any additional tips in the comment section below. What's your experience so far with Ancient Inheritance? Those are our kind of like first thoughts, first look. So far, it's actually pretty cool. It did take me like an hour. I know for some people, it probably took them like 10, 15 minutes, right? Tops. But for us, it took us a little while because, we're kind of taking our time reading through everything. And then, we were finally able to get to the small expedition boss, trying to figure out exactly how everything worked. But for the most part, you will need to kind of coordinate your attacks. If you do end up hitting one of those little expo bosses, you are rewarded for taking them out. So if you can let your party know, your guildies know which ones you've been taken out, then it's going to give you those rewards as soon as that one goes down. But again, let me know your thoughts about Ancient Inheritance so far. We completed day 1. We'll see how it goes in day 2. Let me know if you have any additional tips in the comment section below. Like always, if you haven't enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hey, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.